Hey girl, let me tell you about this podcast.
Girl, everybody has a podcast these days.
But this one interviews new and interesting indie artists. It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Really? Where can I find it?
It's on all podcasting platforms, streams live on social media, and on rpentradio.com.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Girl, I'm gonna have to check her out.
Give it a check, girl.
Welcome to this week's Blonde Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Roni, and I always seek to give you exquisite cranial repertoire. This week, I am going to talk about a couple of things. One thing is about the rap battle. I don't even know what kind of battle you would call it, between the Harris Boys, I'm going to call them the Harris Boys, and 50 Cent. But first, I want to talk about Mr. Tendernism. From my understanding, now he's got a building in Texas where he's going to open his own restaurant or food truck, and that he has a GoFundMe, and I'm all for that. But I really think, business-wise, if you're going to compete against Destination Smokehouse, that he probably should have opened maybe food trucks in the California area to give them direct competition, because in Texas, everybody barbecue. So I lived in California for a little while, and it's not saying anything against the restaurants and whatever there, but moving from the South to the West Coast there, I could not get satisfied at a restaurant with my food. I always felt like it was mediocre, or it was better than what I had, such and such, but it never compared to the food at home. So I feel like that not having a brick and mortar per se, but having a series of food trucks where he makes the food, put it on the truck, or have his pits with him or whatever, and go to different parts of the cities where Destination Smokehouse is, I think that he would give them competition, and they would know where the real, as he said, the original Tendernism came from. But that's just my thoughts. I feel like that it would be more lucrative in the food truck arena doing it in California, because the rent in California is so astronomical. But to have food trucks, I think would be easier for him, and give that Destination Smokehouse a run for their money, since they want to. I basically tell him that he cannot use the word tendernism. And so what they did was file for the trademark and use it with the word Z with the letter Z instead of S at the end. Tendernism instead of tendernism. So, I'm still proud of him for stepping out, being able to see the light in what was going on and how people are turning on you for the love of money. But I do think it would be more lucrative, even if he didn't go to California. Let's just say he done it in a neighboring state, because people come from all around to come. So people, not as much as they used to, is really falling. Go to Las Vegas, go visit the different places in Arizona. So those areas that's close to the West Coast, closer to California, that people would travel to go to get this food. I think that if he had food trucks in those areas, that he could really put a dent in the other business. Running past some business partners and people who have business degrees and work in business, and see how they feel about it. But I'll move on. I was watching several different reaction videos, but I saw that someone put in a comment that in the South, you don't talk about people mama. And I think that 50 forgot about the rest of the family. I'm just saying, it's kind of like a little guy walking home by himself, and he get bullied by the big guy, and the big guy thought that he had the upper hand, but then the little guy go home and he got 10 brothers and sisters that's ready to whoop some ass. I've seen that a lot. People, get bullied. You don't know who people got behind them. And I think that the meme that 50 done, I think that it was probably done in fun. Like, hee. And I think that he honestly forgot about that T.I. had some boys, some men in his family. And I remember watching RRG. And RRG was saying that 50 and T.I. had beef back in the day or whatever, and that they squashed it and da-da-da-da, which is cool. And then I watched another commentator that was saying that this was just hype to hype up T.I.'s, he say, last and final album, that he is retiring from rap. So there's that. And then, T.I. will talk about anything. And this is something that I noticed about him. You could say, why are there blue clovers, purple diamonds, and pink horseshoes and Lucky Charms? And he'll see the philosophy behind, and he'll try to explain it. And I first took it as a know-it-all, but then I was like, that's a person who deals with children. Because kids will ask you the most outlandish things, or things that don't make sense, or things that actually make a lot of sense that you never thought about. And I feel like that when he talked like that, it was because he's normally talking to children, and he's actually attentive in answering their questions, regardless of anything else that's going on and, rumors on both sides. But then I look at King, and I've always liked King. And I'm going to tell you the thing that I like about King. Ever since, because I feel like they kind of grew up with us when we were watching The Family Hustle, even though King said it wasn't like what he said. He'll leave and go to his grandma's house, and his grandma stayed in the hood and da-da-da-da. Fine, all that is good. But one of the things that I noticed about him, even as a young one, he will always be the protector. He was the protector of Major. He was protector of his big sisters. And he would get mad and want to fight. I noticed that about him from being a child. And it seemed like when he wasn't there, then he was okay with Major going to the auntie, because the auntie served as, more than one mother figure in their household. But what didn't surprise me, now let me back up, because I hadn't listened to King's this song. I listened to one of T.I.'s, and I listened to Damani's. But I heard King's, and I was like, oh, Jesus, King, why? And I understand that moms are off limit, but you already have an advantage in being raised by your mom and having your mom there. I think digging into the fact that that man's mom is no longer here, I don't think that it warrants the wrath that you have given him. I think it was a little over the top. But then what I didn't expect was Damani's response, because I remember him, The Family Hustle, and he wasn't a big talker. He was more of a quiet one. He seemed a little shy or whatever. So then, how you have to realize that kids grow into grown men. And I feel like both of them use colorful language. King used colorful language, and he did a lot of cussing and all of that. And I think people was off put by that, but I wasn't, because I just call it colorful language. And studies show that people who use a lot of profanity is normally the most honest people that you will ever meet in your life. So when he just didn't say, well, your mom is dead, he was like, your mom is dead as fuck. Okay, so the way that it said it and the language that was used, both said the same thing, but one had a bigger effect. I was surprised by the money. And I watched many actions and reaction videos about it. And a lot of people had great things to say, that he was calm, that he was polished, and that he was grounded. And he had gained many fans from his delivery of this diss track. And I can agree with all of those things. And although T.I., King, and Damani all had the same message, it was told different ways. And the way that the money told the message, I think is going to stick in people's heads more on a musical level and take him more serious as an artist. I mean, to be compared to Kendrick Lamar, Meet the Graham, and this is like, I know you release other music, but this is like the first time that it's like many eyes is on it, is like a big accomplishment to me, even with T.I. being his dad, to be compared to Kendrick in his prime right now. And he's like really being opened up to the world right now, the money. I think that's a great analogy. So although they said the same things, I think out of all of them, not even just thinking about the diss, because I think that the beef might not pass, but I think the going back and forth probably will. But the money as an artist is probably going to stand even after this. And I was thinking about verse, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is older, he shall not depart. So one thing that I can say, regardless of whatever is I think that even though King came the way he came, King is King. That has always been him, except for the fact that he wasn't doing cussing at the time when he was little. He probably was when he was saying this. He went to the bando, but he's always been that protector. And I think that was instilled in him to be a protector. And that's the reason why I don't think that T.I. had to say a word to any of his boys. I did notice that when I think King was live or something, I did see Major walking around in the background. And I was like, oh, Major with the shit too. He just not one of those kind of kids. He's more a professor. He's more strategic. So the quiet ones you have to watch. I think the money was very direct. And I think that by the fact that these children, these young men calling this man by his first government name and playing the same game with him that he's playing is kind of funny. I think people need not to read too much into it. And I think that it is T.I. and the family hustle. T.I. and the family got in on it. They hustling right behind it. And that's just what it is. So I think, oh no, good job on both ends. I hope that 50 is all right, that they're not really getting under his skin the way that they're trying to, because I still, no matter what, if it's karma, if it's whatever, I don't like the fact that I would have to say something to hurt somebody else because they stepped out of line. And somebody made this point on, I can't remember what reaction I was watching, because I know I watched Keto, I think that's his name. I watched Knox Hill. I watched Screwface. I watched a couple of other ones that I wasn't familiar with. But in one of them, somebody made the comment about The Wire, where, what was his name? The one with the scar. I can't remember his name, and I have the whole Wire series, and I'm looking at it because I got it on DVD. But anyway, it was one that was terrorizing everybody. He had the scar on his face. And everybody in the city was looking for him. And he even jumped off a building and survived it. Broke his leg, went and got it patched up and everything. And out of all these people that was hunting him down, he ended up getting shot in the liquor store getting some cigarettes by a little young boy. And a line in one of the Money song, he said, I'm the one that's bringing your eulogy. He the young boy. And a lot of people make the same assumptions or the same inference or comparison to the ending of, what was his name? Can I remember the character's name? I remember Strinkerbell. I remember Avon. I cannot remember his name, but oh my, and I remember, once I stopped recording, I remember. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Remember, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they shall not depart. And I shall see you on next week. And Unc, if you even hear this podcast, please think about moving the business to the West Coast to stomp on that other business. All right. Bye.
Hey girl, let me tell you about this podcast.
Girl, everybody has a podcast these days.
But this one interviews new and interesting indie artists. It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blunt Intelligence.
Really? Where can I find it?
It's on all podcasting platforms, streams live on social media, and on repertoire.com.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blunt Intelligence.
Girl, I'm gonna have to check her out.
Give it a check, girl.